Kody and Robyn's greed just handed Janelle the victory of a lifetime. We have investigated the latest theories surrounding their IRS tax filings, and their desperate attempt to cheat the government has potentially created an undeniable paper trail of their plot against Janelle, a mistake that is about to cost them everything. We are talking about a scenario where Kody and Robyn allegedly declared themselves active real estate developers for Coyote Pass to claim over $150,000 in fraudulent tax deductions. To justify this, their own tax documents would have had to systematically erase Janelle's involvement, creating an official, signed under penalty of perjury record of their conspiracy. This tax fraud has now become Janelle's ultimate weapon. The theory is simple but devastating. By trying to save money on their taxes, Kody and Robyn may have handed Janelle the exact evidence she needs to prove they never intended to be her partner at all. Before we dive into this explosive financial investigation that could leave Kody and Robyn bankrupt and facing an audit, make sure you are subscribed to COCO Gossip. We are the only channel digging this deep into the financial dark side of the Brown family. Let's get into the deep end of this pool. We need to talk about the difference between reality TV drama and federal tax law. On the show, Kody Brown likes to stand on that mountain of dirt at Coyote Pass and talk about his legacy. He talks about building houses, he talks about gathering his family, he talks a big game about being the patriarch who provides. But when the cameras are off and it is time to file paperwork with the United States government, the story changes completely. We have been looking into a theory that is circulating among financial experts who follow the show, and it centers on a specific IRS designation known as active real estate participation. This is the trap. This is where Kody and Robyn may have dug their own grave. To understand this, we have to go back to the beginning of the Coyote Pass purchase. We know they bought the land, we know they put down massive amounts of money, but for years, nothing has been built. Zero. The property has sat there, accumulating property taxes, accumulating interest on the loans, and costing them money every single month. Now, for a normal person, that is just a bad investment. But for someone like Kody, who fancies himself a businessman, he would be looking for a way to write those losses off. He wants to deduct those expenses to lower his tax bill. Here's the catch. The IRS has very strict rules about deducting losses on real estate that you are not actually renting out or developing. You cannot just buy a piece of dirt, let it sit there, and tell the government it is a business expense. Unless you claim to be a developer, this is where the alleged fraud comes in. The theory suggests that Kody and Robyn, operating under their LLC, filed their taxes claiming to be active real estate developers regarding the Coyote Pass property. Why would they do that? Because if you are an active developer, you can deduct all the carrying costs, the property taxes, the loan interest, the travel expenses to and from the property, maybe even a home office deduction for the management of the project. We are talking about potentially tens of thousands of dollars a year in write-offs. Over 4 or 5 years, that adds up to the $150,000 figure we are looking at. It sounds smart, right? It sounds like Kody working the system. But there is a massive problem with claiming to be the sole active developers. To qualify for that status with the IRS, you have to prove that you are the ones making the decisions. You have to prove you are the ones putting in the hours. You have to prove that you are the material participants. And to prove that Kody and Robyn are the sole decision makers, they would have to legally exclude Janelle from that definition on their tax forms. This is the smoking gun. You cannot tell the IRS, I am the sole developer, while simultaneously having a business partner who has an equal say in the project. If Janelle is an equal partner, as Kody claimed on television for years, then she should be listed on those schedules. She should be receiving her share of the deductions. She should be listed as a material participant. But if Kody and Robyn wanted to hog those deductions for themselves to offset their massive spending habits, they would have to file as if Janelle was just a silent investor, or worse, as if she wasn't involved in the management at all. Imagine the scene. It is tax season. Kody and Robyn are sitting with their accountant. They are looking at a massive tax bill because of their show income. They are desperate to lower it. The accountant asks about the land. Kody says, "We are developing it. We are doing all the work. We are doing the zoning. We are moving the dirt." Robyn nods along, saying she is the operations manager of the family empire. They sign the return, At that moment, they have created a sworn legal document that says, "We run this, nobody else." They did it to save money, but they forgot that Janelle was watching. This is where the narrative shifts from a tax cheat to a legal weapon for Janelle. Janelle Brown is not just a scorned wife, she is a smart woman. She has a background in accounting. She understands numbers. For years, she has been asking for transparency. She has been asking, what is happening with the land? Where is the money going? And for years, Kody has stonewalled her. He has told her it is too complicated. He has told her to trust him. He has gaslit her into thinking she just doesn't understand the big picture. But now, with the separation and the potential lawsuit for her share of the assets, Janelle's lawyers would be requesting these documents during the discovery process. Can you imagine the look on a forensic accountant's face when they slide that Schedule E across the table? The accountant looks at the tax return and then looks at the partnership agreement and then looks at the footage from the show. They see a massive contradiction. On TV, Kody screams that Janelle is not loyal, that she needs to fall in line. But on the tax forms, he has legally declared that she is a non-entity to claim a deduction. This is proof of bad faith. In a civil court, proving bad faith is the golden ticket. If Janelle can prove that Kody and Robyn intentionally restructured the tax reporting to cut her out of the financial benefits of the land while still expecting her to pay off the property, she doesn't just win her money back. She exposes a conspiracy. Let's break down the paper trail of exclusion. This isn't just about one form. This is about a pattern of behavior documented on government forms. When you file these types of returns, you have to list the hours spent working on the property. Kody and Robyn likely inflated their hours to meet the IRS threshold. They probably claimed they spent hundreds of hours managing Coyote Pass. What were they managing? The prairie dog poop? There is no infrastructure. There are no permits being pulled that match that level of work. So not only are they excluding Janelle, but they are also likely lying about the work they performed. This puts them in the crosshairs of the IRS for fraud, but more importantly for our story, it proves to a judge that Kody views the family assets as his personal piggy bank. Think about the timeline. This alleged tax maneuvering would have been happening exactly when Janelle was living in the RV on the land. There she is, physically present on the property, trying to make it a home, trying to actually develop it by living there. Meanwhile, Kody is in the mansion with Robyn, driving over in his sports car for 5 minutes to yell at her about leveling the RV, and then driving back to file a tax return, claiming he is the active developer. It is the ultimate insult. Janelle was living the developer lifestyle, dealing with the water truck, dealing with the power issues, while Kody was claiming the developer tax credit. This specific type of financial betrayal is visceral. It cuts deeper than him having a favorite wife. This is stealing. This is Kody and Robyn looking at a pot of money that belongs to the family and saying, how can we manipulate the government forms so that this money stays in our pocket and Janelle gets nothing? It destroys the big picture argument Kody loves to use. He always tells the wives to look at the big picture. Well, the big picture here is a tax fraud scheme designed to enrich Kody and Robyn at the expense of the other wives. We have spoken to industry insiders who specialize in partnership disputes, and they say this specific tactic, hoarding tax deductions, is a common way that business partners screw each other over. It is quiet, it is bureaucratic. It doesn't scream theft like emptying a bank account does. It happens in the fine print. But when it is discovered, judges hate it. Judges despise when people play games with fiduciary duties. As a partner in the property, Janelle had a fiduciary right to be treated fairly. If Kody and Robyn used the property to generate tax refunds for themselves and did not share those benefits with Janelle, they breached that duty. Now, let's talk about the psychological aspect of this. Kody believes he is smarter than everyone else. He believes he can talk his way out of anything. We have seen him do it for 18 seasons. He spins, he pivots, he blames. He probably thought, Janelle will never see these tax returns. We file jointly as Kody and Robyn. She files separately. She will never know we claimed the Coyote Pass deductions. It was a calculated risk based on the assumption that Janelle would never leave and never sue. He banked on her submission. He banked on her remaining loyal wife who keeps sweet and doesn't ask to see the receipts. That was his fatal mistake. Janelle waking up was the variable he didn't account for. And when Janelle woke up, she didn't just pack her bags. She packed her financial acumen. She knows where the bodies are buried because she used to do the taxes for the family in the early days. She knows Kody's habits. She knows he cuts corners. So when she hires a lawyer, the first thing she says is, get the tax returns, all of them. I want to see how they classified the land. The leaked tax schedule concept we are discussing creates a visual in your mind. Imagine a document redacted of sensitive info but clearly showing K&R Holdings or whatever shell company they use. Line 28 shows a massive loss deduction. The column for material participation is checked yes for Kody and Robyn, and nowhere on that form does Janelle's name appear. That piece of paper effectively says, this is ours. Yet, in the real world, they were asking Janelle to pay off the loan. They wanted her money to pay the debt, but they took the tax benefit of that debt for themselves. That is the definition of having your cake and eating it too. This ties into the greater narrative of the nanny and the mansion. We always wondered how they afforded the nanny, the Rolexes, the art on the walls, the down payment on the mansion. Part of it was show money, sure. But a huge part of wealth accumulation for people like Kody is tax avoidance. If they were shielding $150,000 of income from taxes over a few years by using these fraudulent Coyote Pass deductions, that is real cash in their pocket. That is the money that paid for the nanny. That is the money that paid for the Precious Moments figurines. They were living a lifestyle subsidized by tax fraud committed on the back of Janelle's assets. Let's go deeper into the active developer designation. To claim this, you generally need to spend 750 hours a year in real estate services. 750 hours. That is roughly 15 hours a week, every single week, devoted solely to developing that land. Does anyone watching the show believe Kody and Robyn spent 15 hours a week developing Coyote Pass? We saw them. We saw them sitting in the mansion. We saw them dealing with family drama. We saw them traveling. We rarely saw them moving dirt. The only time Kody went to the land was to strip bark off a log or argue with Janelle. So the fraud is twofold. It is fraud against Janelle by cutting her out, and it is fraud against the IRS by lying about their hours. This creates a leverage point for Janelle that is nuclear. In a negotiation, you want leverage. Usually, in a divorce or separation, the leverage is, I will tell the secrets. But here, the leverage is, I will show the government your crimes. If Janelle's lawyer puts this on the table, Kody has two choices. Choice A, he fights it in court, the tax returns become public record, the IRS gets wind of it, and he goes to prison or faces massive fines. Choice B, he pays Janelle whatever she wants to make this go away. This is why we are calling it the tax fraud trap. Kody built the trap himself. He thought he was building a tax shelter, but he was building a prison cell. He thought he was being a savvy businessman, but he was handing his ex-wife the keys to his destruction. And the beauty of it is, Robyn is implicated too. Because they filed jointly, and because she is likely listed as a member of the LLC to justify her work, she is just as liable. She cannot play the innocent victim here. If her signature is on that return, she is on the hook for the perjury. Let's imagine the courtroom scene that could come from this. Act 3 of our drama, but we are still setting the stage. The judge looks at the discrepancy. The judge asks Kody, Mr. Brown, you claimed on your tax return that you are the sole developer of this land. Yet you are currently arguing that Ms. Brown has an obligation to pay off the note. Which is it? Is she a partner or is she a stranger? Kody would stammer. He would try to talk in circles. But the document doesn't lie. You cannot argue with a tax return. It is a binary condition. Either you lied to the IRS or you are lying to the court. Both result in penalties. We also need to look at how this impacts the other wives. Mary was also involved in the land. If Kody and Robyn claimed 100% of the deductions, they stole from Mary too. This could turn into a class action situation where Janelle and Mary team up. Imagine the power of that alliance. Mary has the receipts from the early days. Janelle has the financial knowledge. Together, utilizing this tax fraud evidence, they could dismantle Kody's financial empire piece by piece. But why focus on the $150,000 figure? That number represents the estimated tax savings on the carrying costs of a multi-million-dollar property over 5 years. Property taxes in Flagstaff are not cheap. Interest rates on land loans are high. If they were writing all of that off, plus management fees, the savings are substantial. That $150,000 is money that should have been shared. If Janelle owns 25% or 30% of the land structure, she should have received 25% or 30% of that tax benefit. That is $40,000 or $50,000 that Kody and Robyn effectively stole from her pocket and put into theirs. And it gets worse. By not listing Janelle as an active participant, they may have prevented her from claiming her own losses. If Janelle put money into the pot for the land payment but wasn't on the deed or the LLC in the right way, or if the Kody Robyn entity swallowed the whole deduction, Janelle just lost money. She paid cash and got zero tax benefit. It is a double hit. She loses the cash and she loses the deduction. Kody keeps the cash and takes the deduction. It is predatory. It is financial abuse disguised as family accounting. The business of Coyote Pass was never about building houses for the wives. We are realizing now that the business was the land itself. The land was a vehicle for Kody to park money, take loans, and write off expenses. The wives were just the investors he needed to secure the initial capital. Once he had the land, he didn't need them anymore. He just needed their silence. That is why he got so angry when Janelle started pushing to build. When Janelle wanted to build, she was threatening the scheme. Building requires permits. Building requires real audits. Building requires converting the land from a tax write-off into a residence. Kody didn't want to build. He wanted to hold. He wanted to let the land appreciate while he milked the tax code. Janelle's desire to actually live there ruined his plan. That explains the hostility. Remember the fight about the blueprints? Remember the fight about the infrastructure? Kody was stalling. We all thought he was stalling because he was lazy or broke. But what if he was stalling because the current setup, land sitting empty, Kody claiming development costs, was the most profitable scenario for him? As long as it was under development, it was a business expense. The moment it becomes a home, those deductions vanish. Janelle trying to pour a concrete pad was literally cementing the end of his tax grift. No wonder he was furious. She was messing with his money. This recontextualizes the entire last 3 seasons. Every time Kody yelled at Janelle for being disloyal, translate that to, "You are messing up my tax evasion strategy." Every time he said, "You don't understand the big picture," translate that to, "You don't understand how Schedule E works." It makes so much sense. It aligns perfectly with his behavior. He wasn't heartbroken. He was threatened. He was afraid of the audit. And Robyn's role? She is the enabler. She is the beneficiary. She is the one crying dry tears while signing the tax forms that cut her sister wives out of the deal. She benefits from the nanny, which is paid for by the tax savings. She benefits from the mansion, which is protected by the LLC structure. She is not a passive observer. In the eyes of the IRS, if she signed those joint returns, she is a co-conspirator. This destroys the poor Robyn narrative forever. You cannot sign a fraudulent tax return and claim you didn't know what was going on. If she didn't read it, that is negligence. If she did read it, it is fraud. The signed confession angle is the strongest part of this theory. Usually, in these he said, she said reality TV disputes, there is no proof. It is just feelings. But a tax return is a sworn statement. It is an affidavit. If Kody checked that box saying, "I materially participated, and I am the only one," he wrote a confession. He confessed to excluding Janelle. He confessed to controlling the asset. He confessed to the financial centralization of the family. Janelle doesn't need to prove he was mean. She just needs to hold up the tax return and say, "Your Honor, he told the federal government he was the only owner. So he owes me my investment back because clearly I wasn't a partner." It is a catch-22 for Kody. If he argues Janelle was a partner to avoid paying her back, he admits to tax fraud. If he argues he didn't commit tax fraud, he admits Janelle wasn't a partner, and he owes her restitution for taking her money under false pretenses. He is trapped. There is no door number 3. This is the checkmate Janelle has been waiting for. We have to wonder if the show's production knows about this. The producers surely have seen the financial documents. Maybe that is why the edit has turned so hard against Kody. They know. They know he is playing a shell game. And they are setting him up for the fall. The cameras catching him in lies about the land are just the tip of the iceberg. The real story is in the filing cabinets. Let's talk about the forensic accountant character in this narrative. Imagine Janelle hiring a shark, someone who eats LLCs for breakfast. This person would look at the transfer of funds. They would track the money from the family pot to the K&R Holdings account, and then to the expenses that were written off. They would find the leaks. They would find the personal expenses disguised as business expenses. Did Kody write off his truck as a work vehicle for Coyote Pass? Probably. Did he write off Robyn's office in the mansion as the headquarters for the development company? Almost certainly. These are red flags. These are the things that get you audited. And if the IRS audits Kody, they audit everything. They go back years, they look at the gun business, they look at the show money, they look at the jewelry business. Kody's entire house of cards is built on shaky financial foundations, one tug on the loose thread of Coyote Pass, and the whole thing unravels. Janelle is holding that thread. This brings us to the concept of the reckoning. We are moving towards a conclusion where Kody doesn't just lose the family, he loses his status, he loses his credit, he loses his ability to borrow. If the court rules against him based on these tax documents, his creditworthiness is destroyed. He won't be able to refinance the mansion. He won't be able to get loans for future schemes. He will be financially radioactive, and Robyn, who married him for security, will be shackled to a sinking ship. Janelle's victory isn't just about the $550,000 payout. It is about validation. It is about proving that she wasn't crazy. She wasn't disloyal. She was being scammed, and the tool of the scam was the very government bureaucracy Kody claims to hate. The irony is delicious. Kody, the libertarian who wants freedom from the state, used the state's tax code to oppress his wives, and now the state's courts are going to use his own filings to liberate Janelle. We need to consider the possibility that Kody tries to settle before this hits court. He might offer Janelle a lowball sum to keep the tax returns private. But sources suggest Janelle is past the point of settling for scraps. She wants what is hers. She wants the full return on investment. She wants appreciation, and she wants the punitive damages for the fraud. $550,000 is the floor, not the ceiling. If the judge sees malicious intent, and the systematic exclusion on tax forms is evidence of malicious intent, the damages could go higher. We could be looking at $1 million judgment. Can Kody pay that? On paper, maybe. He has the mansion, he has the land, but he is liquidity poor, he is cash poor. He would have to sell. He would have to sell the mansion. He would have to sell the art. He would have to liquidate the precious things. Watching Kody Brown having to sell his belongings to pay Janelle would be the highest rated episode in TLC history. It would be the ultimate karma. This investigation into the tax filings changes the genre of the show. It is no longer a show about polygamy. It is a true crime story. It is a story about white-collar crime committed within a marriage. It is Dirty John meets Sister Wives. The elements are all there. The charismatic manipulator, the trusting victims, the complex financial web, the eventual discovery of the truth. We are watching the third act of a crime thriller, and don't forget the timeline of the laws. The tax laws changed during the Trump administration, which Kody likely followed closely. The changes to pass-through entities and real estate deductions were complex. Kody likely thought he found a loophole. He probably thought he was a genius for structuring the LLC this way, but he forgot the human element. He forgot that business partners talk. He forgot that ex-wives have lawyers. He treated the IRS forms like a diary where he could write his own reality, but the IRS forms are actually a contract with consequences. The undeniable paper trail we mentioned in the hook is key. You can delete text messages, you can edit footage, you can claim you don't remember a conversation, you cannot delete a filed tax return. It is archived, it is stamped, it is in the system. That is why this is Janelle's ultimate weapon. It is immutable proof. It is the one thing Kody cannot gaslight his way out of. He signed it, his signature is there, Robyn's signature is there, that signature binds them to the lie. As we wrap up the first part of this deep dive, I want you to sit with this reality. Kody Brown, the man who demanded loyalty, was allegedly disloyal on the most official documents a citizen can file. He erased his wives to save a buck. He minimized their existence to maximize his refund. It is the financial equivalent of scrubbing them from the family photos. It is a total erasure of their contribution. And now that the light is shining on it, the cockroaches are scrambling. We are just getting started. In part 2, we are going to break down exactly how the judge delivers the verdict. We are going to explain the $550,000 calculation in detail, how we get from the original investment to that massive $500,000 payout. We are going to discuss the punitive damages phase, where the judge punishes Kody for the fraud, and we are going to reveal the reaction from the other side, how Robyn is reportedly spiraling as the reality of their financial ruin sets in. You do not want to miss the breakdown of the final judgment. This is the story of how a few checked boxes on a tax form brought down a patriarch. It is the story of the Coyote Pass con. And it is the story of Janelle's triumph. The evidence is mounting. The walls are closing in. Kody and Robyn are trapped in the web of their own making. We have already established the smoking gun, Kody and Robyn's alleged IRS filings where they claim to be the sole active developers of Coyote Pass, effectively erasing Janelle from the business to pocket over $150,000 in tax deductions. We discussed how this created a sworn legal confession that Janelle was not a partner, a document that she is now using to destroy them in court. Now we are moving into Act 3, the reckoning. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the theories turn into consequences. This is where Kody and Robyn lose, and Janelle gets paid. Let's take you inside the hypothetical courtroom. The air is thick with tension. Kody is wearing his best suit, but he looks tired. Robyn is next to him, clutching a tissue, eyes darting around the room. On the other side, Janelle sits calmly. She doesn't need to be loud. She has the paperwork. The judge, let's call him Judge Davis, has reviewed the filings. He has seen the Schedule E forms. He has seen the material participation claims. He looks over his glasses at Kody and says, "Mr. Brown, these documents present a very clear narrative. You told the federal government that this land was your business, solely yours and your legal wife's. You took the benefits of that ownership. You shielded your income with the losses from this land. Now you stand here and tell me Janelle Brown is liable for the debt on a property you legally claimed she didn't manage." This is the pivot point. The judge sees this not as a simple partnership dispute. This isn't just two people who broke up and can't agree on who gets the dog. This is a multi-year conspiracy to commit tax fraud at Janelle's expense. The judge recognizes that Kody and Robyn acted in bad faith. In legal terms, bad faith is a killer. It means you entered into a contract or a relationship with the intent to deceive or defraud. By filing taxes that contradicted their verbal agreements with Janelle, Kody and Robyn proved their bad faith in black and white. Because of this, the judge doesn't just look at the original investment, he looks at the unjust enrichment. This is a legal concept that basically says you shouldn't be allowed to profit from your own wrongdoing. Kody and Robyn enriched themselves by using Janelle's money to buy the land, and then enriched themselves again by using the land to get tax breaks, all while denying Janelle any ownership benefits. The court decides that this cannot stand. Now, let's talk numbers. How do we get to that staggering $550,000 payout? Let's break down the math of Janelle's victory. First, there is the restitution of principal. Janelle cashed out her 401k. She gave the proceeds from her Vegas house. Conservative estimates put her direct cash injection into the family pot and Coyote Pass at around $200,000 to $250,000. That is her base money. The judge ordered that returned immediately. That is not a gift. That was a loan that Kody defaulted on. But then comes the appreciation. The land has gone up in value since they bought it. Flagstaff real estate is booming. If Janelle is a partner, she is entitled to her share of that growth. The judge rules that because Kody tried to exclude her, she is entitled to the current market value of her share, not the purchase price. That adds another $100,000 to the total. We are up to $350,000. Now, we add the fraudulent benefit penalty. This is where the tax scheme backfires. The judge looks at that $150,000 in tax savings Kody and Robyn pocketed. The court rules that since that money was generated by the land asset, it belongs to the partnership. Since Kody and Robyn misappropriated it for personal use, they owe Janelle her share plus interest. Let's say that adds another $50,000. We are at $400,000. Finally, the hammer drops. Punitive damages. Punitive damages are designed to punish the defendant for egregious behavior and deter them from doing it again. The judge looks at the deception, he looks at the manipulation, he sees a man who took advantage of a spiritual marriage to commit financial abuse. The judge slaps a $150,000 punitive damage award on top of everything else. This is the stupid tax for lying to the IRS and the wife simultaneously. Total it all up, $250K principal plus $100K appreciation plus $50K diverted funds plus $150K punitive damages. The judge issues a summary judgment. This means there is no need for a long, drawn-out trial because the evidence is so overwhelming. Kody loses. Immediately, the order is signed. The defendants, Kody and Robyn Brown, are hereby ordered to pay the plaintiff, Janelle Brown, the sum of $550,000. The reaction in the courtroom would be priceless. Kody's face would turn that shade of angry red we know so well. He would try to object. He would try to claim poverty. But the judge is one step ahead. The judge orders a financial review. This is the nightmare scenario for Kody. The court appoints a forensic accountant to go through all of Kody and Robyn's assets to ensure they can pay the judgment. They can't hide money in shell LLCs anymore. They can't hide money in precious metals buried in the backyard. The court has the authority to seize assets. This puts the mansion in immediate jeopardy. The She-Ra Chateau is the only asset with enough equity to pay Janelle. The court could place a lien on the mansion. This means Kody cannot sell it, refinance it, or do anything without paying Janelle first. If he doesn't pay, the court can force the sale of the home. Imagine the scene. A for sale by sheriff sign on the driveway of the Flagstaff mansion. It is the ultimate humiliation. The house that Robyn needed, the house that destroyed the family, is sold to pay the wife they tried to cheat. And the fallout doesn't stop at the civil suit. The judge, noticing the discrepancies in the tax returns, has a duty to report potential federal crimes. The judgment notes are forwarded to the IRS. Kody and Robyn are now facing a potential IRS audit. An audit is not just a meeting, it is a colonoscopy of your financial life. The IRS will want to know why they claim to be developers when they built nothing. They will want to verify every single receipt. Did they write off a family vacation as a business trip? Did they write off clothing? With the spotlight on them, the IRS agents will be ruthless. They could be facing back taxes, massive penalties, and potentially interest compounding daily. Their attempt to save $150,000 has put them in legal jeopardy that could cost them millions. It is the classic tragedy of greed. By grasping for that extra tax break, they exposed their jugular. Now, let's look at Janelle's reaction. She walks out of that courthouse not just richer, but lighter. The burden is gone. For years, she worried about her future. She worried she had nothing to leave her kids. Now she has $500,000, cash. She gets her money back and she gets the money they tried to cheat. It is poetic justice. She can buy her own land. She can build her own house. She can travel. She is free. This victory sends a shockwave through the family. Mary sees this and realizes, wait, I can do that too. The precedent has been set. If Janelle can prove the tax fraud, Mary can use the same evidence. Kody and Robyn could be hit with a second lawsuit, a second judgment. They are bleeding out financially. The empire Kody tried to build is being dismantled brick by the women he discarded. Let's analyze the Robyn factor in the aftermath. Robyn has always claimed she wants the family together. She claims she is a victim of the other wives' bullying. But this judgment strips that mask away. The court record shows she was an active participant in the financial exclusion of Janelle. She signed the papers. She took the money. The public will see this. The fans will see the court documents. Her reputation, already hanging by a thread, will be completely destroyed. She will be known as the woman who helped her husband rob his other wives. And how does this affect their marriage? Financial stress is the #1 cause of divorce. Kody and Robyn are now facing bankruptcy. They are facing the loss of their home. They are facing legal fees. The honeymoon experience is over. Now, they are just two broke people in a house they can't afford, blaming each other. Kody will blame Robyn for spending too much. Robyn will blame Kody for not handling the taxes better. The toxicity will be off the charts. We predict this is the beginning of the end for Kody and Robyn. The tax fraud trap didn't just catch Janelle's money, it caught their marriage. The narrative arc here is perfect. Act 1 was the setup, the grand promises of Coyote Pass. Act 2 was the evidence, the sneaky tax filings and the betrayal. Act 3 is the reckoning, the total financial and reputational collapse of Kody and Robyn, and the rise of Janelle. This theory also explains why Kody has been so erratic lately. He knows this is coming. He knows the walls are closing in. When people are guilty of financial crimes, they act paranoid. They lash out. Kody's behavior on the show, the anger, the bitterness, is the behavior of a man who knows he is sitting on a ticking time bomb. He knows that one smart lawyer is all it takes to blow up his world. And Janelle found that lawyer. Let's take a moment to appreciate the irony of the Coyote Pass name. A coyote is a trickster, a scavenger. It is fitting that this land, named after a trickster, became the site of Kody's biggest trick and his biggest failure. He tried to pull a fast one, and he got caught in his own trap. What happens next? Janelle likely takes her $550,000 and starts a new life. Maybe she buys a farm in North Carolina near Maddie. Maybe she starts a real business that actually makes money. She becomes the success story of the show. Meanwhile, Kody and Robyn are tied up in appeals, audits, and debt settlement negotiations for the next decade. They become the cautionary tale. This investigation forces us to rethink everything we watched. The meetings about the property weren't about building. They were about maintaining the illusion for the IRS. The zoning issues were fabricated delays to keep the developer status active. The entire storyline of Coyote Pass was a front for a tax shelter. And like all Ponzi schemes and financial frauds, it worked until it didn't. It worked until the people putting the money in asked for their money back. The audience needs to understand the gravity of signed under penalty of perjury. That little sentence at the bottom of a 1040 form is powerful. It is the sword hanging over Kody's head. If the IRS decides to press criminal charges, we aren't just talking about fines. We are talking about federal prison. Reality stars have gone to prison for less. Just look at the Chrysleys. The precedent is there. If you lie to the government about your money while flaunting your wealth on TV, the government comes for you. Kody Brown is walking the exact same path. So Janelle's win is a win for everyone who has been gaslit. It is a win for everyone who has been told you don't understand the finances. It is a win for transparency. She used the truth, the cold, hard, mathematical truth of the tax returns, to cut through years of emotional manipulation. As we close out this report, imagine the final shot. Kody standing on Coyote Pass, alone, the wind is blowing, no wives, no houses, just a for sale sign and a letter from the IRS in his pocket. That is the future he built. That is the destination of the Kody Brown Express. They tried to cheat the IRS and got caught by Janelle. Is this the most satisfying karma ever? Let me know what you think of this tax trap in the comments. Do you think Kody will have to sell the mansion to pay Janelle? Do you think the IRS is already watching? Drop your theories below, and don't forget to subscribe to COCO Gossip. We are tracking this case every single day. We will be the first to let you know when the audit hits. Subscribe to see who gets audited first. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.